it's time to go through some adventures. Now, you have come across the adventures of Tintin, the adventures of Tom Sawyer, but today we are going to read a very beautiful, rather a funny story. That's the Adventures of Toto. Toto sounds odd, but the author is it's Ruskin Bond. And by the way, who is Toto? Oh, you can see him to my left. Yes, that's our Toto. So what adventures has he performed? Let's watch. And it's going to be really fun. So yes, be with me. Mulk Raj Anand was born in Kasauli, Punjab States Agency, British India. He is an Indian author of British descent. He has written several novels, over 500 short stories, as well as various essays and poems. He has received the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for English writing and Padma Shri in 1999 for contributions to children's literature. Now, this is what we know about Ruskin Bond. Of course, we have read n number of stories in our books previously in your grade 8 and 7 as well. Now, children, before we move on, let me just brief you about how we are going to go about, since it's just your second chapter of Moments. So, yes, first we are going to talk about the author always, yes. And then, as you notice, we will be having the plot of the story. I shall read the plot to you, and then begins your story. Now, how are we doing it? We have this paragraph. This is exactly from your textbook, ditto, right? You have certain words highlighted here, of which we have the meanings on the very same page. So, whenever you refer to this, it is going to be way easy for you. Yeah, so this is how our whole, and of course it's depicted in some manner or the other. This is how our whole story is going to be. Now, while I am reading for it, I'm reading for you word by word, line by line. You need to stay glued and you need to listen to me attentively. Why? Now, the reason behind it is, once you listen to me attentively throughout the video, you shall be able to answer your extracts. You know what are extracts, right? You get a part of the paragraph and then you have questions based on the same. So once you have understood the entire story, you will be able to frame your answers. You don't have to by heart anything. Yeah. So you can do that. And then you can also frame your answers. Now, your answers can be 1 mark. It can come for 2, 3, 4 or 5. For the same, you shall know the story so well that you can write your answer as per the marks allotted. Yeah. Now, this vocabulary shall enhance your vocabulary, as in it shall add up to your vocabulary. Such words there are which you can use during your communication skills and your writing skills. You can actually, when you are doing creative writing, you can use these words. So you see, on the whole, it's a platter right in front of you. But for the same, you have to listen attentively. Now, all that you have to put on is just the play button and put on your earphones, and be it wherever you are, sitting in a cafe, sitting anywhere, traveling in the bus, train, anything, you can listen, right? You can listen, you can watch. At the same time, you can enjoy and learn. The main motive is to learn, yeah? But in this fun manner, yes, definitely, it's going to be really amazing. So yes, let's gear up for the same and let's get moving. So, we need to begin with the plot. We spoke about the author Ruskin Bond, and now it's time to know the plot of the story. The Adventures of Toto is based on the experiences of people who keep animals as pets. It shows that not all animals can adapt themselves to human way of life. Of course, it's a true fact. Yeah, you cannot keep any animal as your pet, no matter how good a trainer you are, but then you cannot have them as your pet. It requires a great deal of patience and skill to train animals to acquire non-destructive behavior. Now, a monkey, if we look at, it's not a destructive behavior, but at the same time, he needs all the liberty, running from here to there, snatching things, doing things, just eating up. So, it's sort of a destructive behavior. So, he says it's not easy, you have to really, really train them. The narrator's grandfather was fond of keeping different kinds of pets. One day, he bought a baby monkey from a Tonga driver for rupees 5. Now, this is a very old story. Yeah. So, getting a baby monkey in rupees 5, you can just imagine. Nowadays, it hardly has any value. Its name was Toto. It was a mischievous, small monkey. At first, his pranks were amusing. At first, everyone was enjoying whatever he was doing. Whatever he would do, people would really enjoy. The family members enjoyed these pranks. But with the passage of time, as time went by, his mischiefs became wilder. Now he started destroying and disrupting things in the house. Now that became a little problem. A little problem, it's a big problem, he lands up, breaking plates or glasses. It's not right. He broke many things in the house. At last, grandfather realized that he could not keep Toto at home any longer. He just realized, he says, look, I don't think what I have done is right. It's time for me, to give it away. So he sold Toto back to the Tonga driver for 3 rupees. He bought him for, yes, 5, and he sold it back for 3. Well, that's the plot of the story. Let's understand the entire story. And for those who are aware only of BMW, Mercedes and Jaguar, let me tell you, this is a Tonga. I'm sure most of us know it, but just in case. So yeah, that's a Tonga. So he bought it from the Tonga driver. Now, grandfather bought Toto from a Tonga driver for the sum of 5 rupees. Please keep these figures in mind because they can come for 1-mark questions. Yeah. The Tonga driver used to keep the little red monkey tied to a feeding trough. Now, a feeding trough is what? A long, narrow, open container for animals to eat or drink out of. It's a very long container sort of thing. It's an open thing where these animals eat and drink. And the monkey looked so out of place there that grandfather decided he would add the little fellow to his private zoo. Now, he felt the monkey was looking, he was not looking, that's not the place for him. So, he said, okay, he had his little private zoo because you remember, he loved to keep pets. So, he said, chalo, let me try and, bring this monkey to my private zoo and then it'll be great fun. That's what grandfather thought. That was his intention. But Toto was a pretty monkey. His bright eyes sparkled with mischief beneath deep-set eyebrows, and his teeth, which were a pearly white, very often displayed in a smile that frightened the life out of elderly Anglo-Indian ladies. Well, this is your description of the monkey. Yeah, so probably a 2-marks question. So you need to read it carefully and then you can frame it in your own words. Please, it's time we grew out of spoon feeding. I'm sure even in 8th we have framed our own answers. We have been trained, not that you haven't been trained. I know it because being a teacher myself, I know very well. I never did the spoon feeding. Yeah, I used to discuss it with the children and then ask them to frame their answers. See, that develops a habit. So please don't do this copy paste from your NCRT and whatever. Don't do that copy paste. It's not really going to help. Once you start doing it, yeah, right now, maybe you manage it. But 10th, 11th, as you grow towards the bigger standards, it's going to be too difficult for you. So please start using your brain. Yeah, start actually framing good answers. They should be worthwhile and of course, they should fetch you good marks. So yeah, coming back. So he was a very pretty monkey, as we can see. His bright eyes, they sparkled with mischief beneath deep set eyebrows. You can see the eyes full of mischief. You know, when children, I mean, he's a monkey, okay. But, you know, when children do mischief, you can see it in their eyes. You know, when you're tiny babies, when they go to see, oh, I'm going to go and, you know, just kick that ball or do something, you can see it. It's very visible on their face and in their eyes. So, this is how it was for him. And his teeth were nice and pearly white. They were pearl white, literally very, very white. And when he would smile, it would literally frighten the life out of the elderly Anglo-Indian ladies. Now, which are these ladies? They are of mixed British and Indian parentage. Yeah, so you have these Anglo-Indian. See, we get to know so much. Anglo-Indian is a mixture of British and Indian parentage. Now, but his hands looked dried up as though they had been pickled in the sun for many years. See how beautifully the author has put it. He says his hands were totally dried, you know, as though they had been pickled in the sun. You know, you keep something to dry in the sun. Quite often your parents, your mom rather, must say, she keeps, you know, those jars of pickles in the sun when it's the season of making pickles, they keep it, and then, you know, they keep doing that day after day till the pickle is ready. So this is how he's saying his hands were dried up, as though they had been, you know, pickled in the sun for many years. Yet his fingers were quick and wicked, and his tail, while adding to his good looks, grandfather believed a tail would add to anyone's good looks. Yeah, of course, he's talking about animals, not us. Also served as a third hand for the animals. So they had two hands and the tail served as the third hand. But yeah, he was wicked, as in he was playfully mischievous. He was very playful. Now, how does the monkey know that I'm not supposed to do? Now, he's not attended a personality development class and he does not know that, oh, this is right and this is wrong. I'm not supposed to do this. Not the case. Yeah. So, he was at his level, sort of. He could use it to hang from a branch. Now, we have seen monkeys do that. You know, they coil their tail on the branch of a tree and they keep swinging. And it was capable of scooping up any delicacy that might be out of reach of his hands. Very smart. And if you go to these, you know, I witnessed it at Haridwar and these places, you know, when they want to take away something, scoop as in lift something quickly. You know, they just hang, I mean, of course, if it's reachable, not very high. Or else they just pounce, you know, and they just take it away. They scoop it away. Any delicacy as an expensive food item that is considered highly sophisticated. So any type of food, be it bananas, they have even taken, you know, I have seen them taking glares, I have seen them taking mobiles. I just saw a video the other day on WhatsApp and it's like, you know, there's a special place literally, you know, so the person, he took the lady's, I think mobile or handbag, and he just took it and he went up and he stood there high up on a tree. That lady, so the one person came, that lady had to pay some certain amount of money to that person and the monkey literally comes down and gives the bag back. Now, see how well they are trained. I mean, you know, money making, it can be in any way. Now, it's really, really sort of strange, but yeah, things like that are happening. Coming back to our Toto. Grandmother always fussed when grandfather brought home some new bird or animal. Oh, grandma was so against it. She never liked it. She showed excessive concern. She would hate it when he would bring home another animal or anything, be it a bird or an animal. So it was decided. Now she was very upset when he brought the monkey home. So it was decided that Toto's presence should be kept a secret from her until she was in a particularly good mood. Now, Grandpa was so afraid of Grandma. And why so? He decided, he said, okay, now I know she's going to be very upset, you know, if I show her the monkey. So what he did was, he says, okay, now I have to keep this as a secret. I cannot bring the monkey in front of her until and unless I see one fine day that today she's in a very jolly good mood. ready to accept anything, then that day I will bring Toto in front of her. But otherwise, till then, no risk. I will not take any risk. She is the Supreme Court of the house. How can you do it? So yes, grandfather and I put him away in a little closet opening into my bedroom wall, where he was tied securely, or so we thought, to a peg fastened into the wall. Now the narrator and the grandfather, what they did was, they put him away in a closet. Closet is like a cupboard, opening into my bedroom wall. Now it was opening into the bedroom wall. There he was tied up, properly tied up. Now that's what they thought, or so we thought. To a peg, peg as in a short bolt for hanging things. You have this loop type of thing on the walls where you put your clothes and stuff. Yeah. Fastened as in it was fixed into the wall. Now this peg was there, and there this monkey was, with the rope he was tied and the monkey there. So yeah, he could be enough tied up securely. A few hours later, when grandfather and I came back to release Toto, we wanted to free him for some time. We found that the walls, which had been covered with some ornamental paper chosen by grandfather, now stood out as naked brick and plaster. Wow, what did they find? So, here begins the the adventure, the list of the adventure, the flow of the adventures. It begins here. This is the first one he began with. So when they came back to free him, to release him, as in they had tied him up, so they thought, okay, now let's free him, So the moment they came back into the room, what do they see? They see that the whole room, which was covered with wallpaper, ornamental paper as in decorative paper, like wallpaper. Nothing of that was visible. The paper was nowhere. All that they could see was the bricks and the plaster which was behind the paper, because now the paper had been pulled out. The peg in the wall had been wrenched from its socket. It had been pulled out suddenly from the hollow thing, where you fitted something. It literally had been pulled out from there. And my school blazer, which had been hanging there, was in shreds. Shreds as in it was in pieces. I wondered what grandmother would say. Now looking at that, OMG, that was scary. How do we do this and what do we do about it? How do we put this in front of grandma? Because grandma till now is not even aware that the monkey is at home. But grandfather didn't worry. He was okay. He was calm. He seemed pleased with Toto's performance. He was happy. He was okay. He said, okay, he's done something. He was fine with it. Not an issue. But remember, this was the first mischief. Yeah? There'll be many more coming your way. So keep jotting down in small points so that you get the sequence. Why am I saying it in sequence? It's not necessary that you will have to put it up in sequence, but just that you'll remember it easily. So, I'm asking you to do it. He's clever, said grandfather. Given time, I'm sure he could have tied the torn pieces of your blazer into a rope and made his escape from the window. He says this monkey is really smart. If we wouldn't have come for a little more time, you know what this monkey would have done? The blazer which he tore, he made into pieces, he would have tied the pieces in and made a rope out of it, and he would have escaped from the window if we would have not come for more time. His presence in the house still a secret, Toto was now transferred to a big cage in the servants' quarters where a number of grandfather's pets lived very sociably together. Now, he felt now this is not the right place for him. So, let's put him into a small cage. It was rather a big cage where in the servants' quarters. Okay. Now, where the other pets were living sociably. Sociably as in willing to talk and engage in activities with other people. So, they were happy with each other. All the pets, all the animals, they were very happy with each other. So, they had a very gala time, very good time. And which were these pets? You had a tortoise, a pair of rabbits, a tame squirrel, and for a while, my pet goat. My pet goat as in the narrators. But the monkey wouldn't allow any of his companions to sleep at night. So, grandfather, who had to leave Dehradun next day to collect his pension in Saharanpur, decided to take him along. Now, one night he was there, but another problem. He did not let any of these animals sleep at night. He kept disturbing, he kept making noises, he just didn't let them sleep. The peace that they had amongst themselves, those animals, was totally gone because of this monkey. So now what happens is, next day, the grandfather had to leave Dehradun and he had to go to Saharanpur to collect his pension. He had to collect his pension. You know what's a pension, right? Regular payment made during a person's retirement. Now, he had already retired. And of course, he had so many pets and he had grandma, so he needed that money. So, he had to go to Saharanpur to collect it. So, looking at the situation that, this monkey is not even, making friends with these animals. So, I think I'll have to take him along with me to Saharanpur. So, the poor grandfather, but he was fine with it. He was okay. He didn't mind it, Unfortunately, I could not accompany grandfather on that trip. Who is the I? Yes, the narrator. But he told me about it afterwards. Of course, now he did not go, but when grandpa came back, he told him exactly what all had happened because the sweet little Toto was with him, yeah? So, obviously, you can imagine it now. A big black canvas kit bag was provided for Toto. Now, a black canvas kit bag. The canvas bag, like the jute bag types. So, he was there inside in that. Okay, this with some straw at the bottom. There was a little straw they put at the bottom. Became his new abode. His new abode as in his new place of residence. Now, he was traveling with grandfather. So, he needed something comfortable and grandfather couldn't just take him along, people would not have allowed him in the train. When the bag was closed, it was a sort of a kit bag, there was no escape. There was no escape at all. Toto could not get his hands through the opening and the canvas was too strong for him to bite his way through. Now, the bag in which he was put, it was in such a manner that, even the jute was the canvas was too strong for him to bite and there was no way his hands could come out and, through that and escape. Now, his efforts to get out only had the effect of making the bag roll about on the floor or occasionally jump into the air. Now, as a monkey, he would roll, so the bag would roll. He would jump, so the bag would jump. Now, that was happening, but he couldn't come out of it. An exhibition that attracted a curious crowd of onlookers on the Dehradun railway platform. Now, it was very funny. On the platform, he was coming across, when he was doing all these things and the people around, the crowd around was wondering, why is that bag jumping in the air? Why is that bag going in circles? What is there inside? Obviously, someone's bag starts doing that. It's a very curious thing, you want to know what's inside. Toto remained in the bag as far as Saharanpur, but while grandfather was producing his ticket at the railway turnstile as in the mechanical gate of revolving horizontal arms fixed to a vertical post. When he had to go through that, Toto suddenly poked his head out of the bag and gave the ticket collector a wide grin. So finally, he was successful at bringing his head out and he gave a big grin. So you remember he had those pearl white teeth and obviously this was totally not expected. So the ticket collector just saw him. So because he poked his head out, he's just brought his head out of the bag and this is what he did. He gave the ticket collector a wide grin. The poor man was shocked. He was taken aback. He was surprised. but with great presence of mind and much to grandfather's annoyance. To grandfather's annoyance as an irritation. Now, grandfather got irritated because you're not supposed to carry animals like that in the train. He said, "Sir, you have a dog with you." He looked at it, he says, "You have a dog with you. You'll have to pay for it accordingly." In vain as in without success, he did not get success in doing that. Did grandfather take Toto out of the bag? In vain did he try to prove that a monkey did not qualify as a dog or even as a quadruped. Quadruped is an animal with 4 feet. So he just tried to explain him so much. He just told him, in vain did grandfather take Toto out of the bag. In vain did he try to prove that a monkey did not qualify as a dog. He says that's a monkey, you cannot call it a dog. It is not a quadruped, as in it is not an animal with 4 feet. So Toto was classified a dog by the ticket collector, and 3 rupees was the sum handed over as his fare. Now because he couldn't go back, so he had to pay for him. He paid another additional extra 3 rupees. Then grandfather, just to get his own back, took from his pocket our pet tortoise and said, "What must I pay for this, since you charge for all animals?" Now he was totally annoyed, right? He's paying 3 rupees for the monkey. He said, "So you tell me." Then he had carried the pet tortoise also with him. "So what do I pay for this? You charge, no, for all animals. So tell me." You know, that sarcasm. "What do I pay for this?" The ticket collector looked closely at the tortoise, prodded it with his forefinger. Prodded it as in it poked a finger. You know, he just poked at the little tortoise. He gave grandfather a pleased and triumphant look. He says, "Oh, I have won it." So, you know, that discussion, that argument that they had of a dog and a monkey and a quadruped. So he had, you know, actually got victory because grandfather had to pay. So what he did, he gave grandfather a pleased and a triumphant, as a victorious, he had got victory, he had won it, and said, "No charge, it is not a dog." He says, "Oh, that's not a charge for the tortoise because he's not a dog, so it's okay." When Toto was finally accepted by grandmother, he was given a comfortable home in the stable. Well, दादाजी ने दादी को घूस दिया होगा. I'm sure he bribed her. Yeah? And then somehow he convinced her that please, and it was a hanji from her side. So finally he was given a comfortable home in the stable where he had for a companion the family donkey Nana. Nana was the name of the family donkey. So you see, the zoo has strange pets. So this donkey is one of them, Nana. On Toto's first night in the stable, grandfather paid him a visit to see if he was comfortable. Now our great Mahashay Toto, you know how he is, how Sida Sada Bola Bala, should I say that? Of course not. The most mischievous monkey. So grandfather, you know, went to see and make sure that, oh, is everything okay? Is he comfortable? To his surprise, he found Nana without apparent cause, without any obvious cause, pulling at her halter and trying to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. Now when he went there, he found Nana very restless. He found the donkey extremely restless. It was just pulling back. You know, it was not ready to go and eat the hay. It was very restless. So what he did was, grandfather gave Nana a slap across her haunches. Haunches is what? The buttock and the thigh considered together. So the back of the donkey, he just, you know, gave him a slap and she jerked back. She just gave a jhatka, like, you know, she suddenly, someone hit you behind. Dragging Toto with her. Where was Toto? He had fastened onto her long ears. He was there stuck to her long ears with his sharp little teeth. That is why Nana was restless. Toto and Nana never became friends. So even here, this great character, He did not make friends just like the other pets. Even there he created a problem, even here. So that is why the name of the chapter is The Adventures of Toto. I hope you are listing down his great adventures. A great treat for Toto during cold winter evenings was the large bowl of warm water given to him by grandmother for his bath. Now, he was given this big, large bowl of warm water where he was supposed to take his bath. He would cunningly test the temperature, cunningly as in through deceit or evasion, very smartly, very cunningly. He would test the temperature with his hand. Now, that we all do. When you fill water in a bucket, don't we just check it with our hands, how hot or cold it is? Is it going to suit us, not going to suit us? So, this smarty would do the same. Then gradually he would step into the bath, first one foot, then the other, as he had seen me doing. He had seen him, the author, doing, until he was into the water up to his neck. Till then he would go and sit down. Once comfortable, he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub himself all over. When the water became cold, he would get out and run as quickly as he could to the kitchen fire in order to dry himself. So you see, this smart character, he would know exactly, now the water is becoming cold. Yeah, so now I need to get out of this, and then he would run to the kitchen fire where there was fire in the kitchen. He would go and sit down there to dry himself. Yeah. If anyone laughed at him during this performance, oh, check it out. If anyone laughed at him while he was doing all this, Toto's feelings would be hurt and he would refuse to go on with his bath. Moody. Okay, so he's like, so while he was taking his bath and, taking a good, dip in that warm water and then going and drying himself. And if anyone was seeing him do this and if they would laugh at how he's doing, how he's rubbing the soap and taking a bath, if anyone would do that, he would feel hurt. He would be offended and then he would just stop taking his bath at that point of time. Wow, look at that. Even a monkey can do that. I've heard of humans do this. I've not heard of monkeys. One day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. Now that's another great episode. Let's go ahead to check it out. How did he really succeed in boiling himself up? A large kitchen kettle had been left on the fire to boil for tea. Now do you see the kettle, this type of it? And Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. He removed the lid, the cap of the kettle. Finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got in. Now this is a small kettle. That was a big one where he could manage to get in. So, finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got in with his head sticking out from the open kettle. Now, he did not realize, first it had just started, so the water was just warm, but it was heating, so eventually the water would boil and it was kept for tea, so obviously it was supposed to boil. This was just fine for a while until the water began to boil. Toto then raised himself a little, but finding it cold outside, he sat down again. It was extremely cold. So the moment he tried to come out, he felt it's too cold outside. So again, he sat down again. He continued hopping up and down for some time until grandmother arrived and hauled him, half boiled, out of the kettle. She literally just howled at him and half boiled, he was out of the kettle. Definitely, she just pulled him out. If there is a part of the brain especially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. Of course, looking at the, the number of mischiefs that he has gone through or whatever he has done, obviously that part of the brain which, where the mischief is actually, that part of the brain which does the mischief or rather instructs him to do the mischief is highly and super active. He was always tearing things to pieces. Whenever one of my aunts came near him, he made every effort to get hold of her dress and tear a hole in it. So now you see, now this is not pleasing. Now definitely this had become destructive. It was risky. He could have done anything to anyone because he wasn't aware. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. It was a very big dish of pulao. It was there at the dining table. We entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with the rice. He was enjoying that pulao. My grandmother screamed and Toto threw a plate at her. Now just imagine, this is the same person who takes care of him, but still the moment she screamed, he threw a plate at her. One of my aunts rushed forward. She went forward and she received a glass of water in the face. Now while the grandma was doing this, the aunt was also there. So she tried to save, and what did she get? She got a glass of water on her face. That's what he did to her. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit. He ran away from there through a window. He took that plate of pulao and he went from the window. We found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree, the dish still in his arms. That plate of pulao, that whole thing was still in his arms. He remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain. Probably he found it really yummy. It looks mouth-watering, doesn't it? So yeah, so he found it really yummy and he wanted to finish every grain. So whole afternoon he sat there with the dish and slowly he was relishing the food. He was sitting and enjoying it. And then, in order to spite grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. Now, because grandma had shouted at him, she had screamed when she saw him eating that pulao. So literally, in order to take revenge, sort of, he actually threw that plate, that dish, after eating all the rice, every grain of it. He literally threw that plate from the tree, yes, and when it broke into 100 pieces, he was just happy about the whole thing. He chattered, as in, he talked about in something informally, as in, he made that sound. Obviously, Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Now here they finally drew a conclusion. After all the issues, after all the problems that he had committed in the house, they finally decided it is not possible and it is not even right to keep this monkey as a pet at home. Even grandfather realized that. We were not well-to-do, we were not rich, we were not wealthy, and could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtains and wallpaper. He's saying again and again, occurring or done many times at short intervals, like so often he would land up spoiling something. And every time we have to replace that or repair that, we were not that rich enough. So, what did Grandpa do? Grandfather found the same Tonga driver and sold Toto back to him for only 3 rupees. So finally he had to give up. He tried, he kept a lot of patience, he tried being a parent to him literally. See, you all those who have pets, you all know how attached you get to your pet. You feel so much, they are hurt, you are hurt. They are in pain, you feel pain. They are hungry, you feel bad. So, you get attached to those pets just like a parent of the pet. Yeah, we do that, don't we? So, what is the message actually? What can you draw a conclusion out of this? Parents are like God because you want to know they are out there and you want them to think well of you, but you really only call when you need something. Well said by Chuck Palahniuk. He is like, parents are always there for us. They are available 24/7 into 365 lifetime. But what is this thing? What do? We only when we need them, when we need something, we call them. Otherwise, for granted, okay, they are there. It's just a for granted case. We're talking of parents here because we're talking of pets. Yeah, like like children, like parents take care of their kids. Likewise, they take care of their pets. And I'm sure we are all aware that what attachment we have with our pets. Being parents to them, we feel that yes, they are one among our children. We treat them the same manner. But unfortunately, Toto did not do that. He did not revert the love back to grandfather. Well, I'm sure you all are understanding enough, be it your pet or be it your parents. Kindly make sure that you reciprocate the love. You give back the love. Yes, and always stay connected. Yes, please keep doing that and keep smiling. For the same, keep watching and keep learning.